Hello out there. How's everyone doing? Um, Today I'm gonna have a little more of a serious demeanor in what I'm about to say because I feel as though a lot of us either we know, we don't know, or we're in denial as far as things that we do want to know. Um, with this country and every presidential election that has taken place, every president, for the most part, has to have been a Mason, has to have been from a royal bloodline, from the monarchs, basically coming out of, excuse me, uh, the British government or the Vatican, or it may have been passed down through the Jesuits. And the reason that I say this is because we are now in a time frame where a lot of things that we're witnessing now with this election of Barack Obama, how he went against Mitt Romney, and how you have a president who says all the right things based upon what the American people want to hear, because the American people love a hero. That has been the story that we have been living with for years and generations, ever since movies and cartoons. There always has to be a hero and there has to be a villain. So with this president of Barack Obama, he basically is the people's champ and the Congress is the villain. But again, this is more or less like a script or a play that has been written out for the American public to see up front. If anything that you do with the American public, you must allow them to see it in order to make it believable. You know, the people have to see it so the people can talk about it, so the people can reinforce what needs to be reinforced. But there is always a hand that's moving the people, but the people rarely see that hand because we're always looking for something instead of looking for the unseen or the unheard, in which you can't hear the unheard, but you could feel certain things that are happening around you. You can see certain things that are happening around you. And as much as Barack Obama talks about the things that he wants to do and the things that he's going to do, for the most part, we have basically seen nothing. Nothing has changed, and yet and still, you still have a bunch of Americans who still have that pride about themselves, who still feel as though that someone is going to come in and save the day. This is not Superman. This is not Wonder Woman. This is not a fairy tale. This is real life. And the only person that's going to save you is you. So when you hear the old saying of power to the people, that's a very true statement. Now I'm going to run down the story that goes all the way back to the sinking of the Titanic. And the reason why I'm running down this story, because you have families very, very much back in the day. I want to say there was a family, the black nobility family. I want to say the Bulgarians. I believe that's the name. I'm not sure. So if I'm wrong, please someone correct me. But I believe it was the Bulgarians. And through the Bulgarian family, you had the Jesuits, which basically took control. The Jesuits take orders from the Vatican. So with this being said, when we had the sinking of the Titanic, there were 3 German men who were basically the 3 richest men in the world. And these 3 German men basically were not in, they were not, what's the word for it? They were not on the same frequency as their other members, so to speak. They were not in tune to what basically each other member wanted to do. Now, when I say the other members, they were members of the same families like the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the J.P. Morgan, so on and so forth. The Titanic was built by the J.P. Morgan family. At that time, the J.P. Morgan family controlled most of the industrial shipyards. So this is where the Titanic was being built at. It was funded by the Rockefeller family and also by the Rothschild family to be built. So at the time that the Titanic took its trip, these three German men, I believe one of the men's name was Isaac Strasberg. I forgot the other two men, but these three men aborted this ship. And as the story has been reported to us throughout years that there was a sinking of a ship, and I sort of beg to differ. I could be incorrect, but it was just a coincidence that during the sinking of the Titanic, these three German men also sunk and died the same night that the Titanic had sunk. The captain of the Titanic, he was a member of the Vatican. He was also a Jesuit. Now, when these three men were taken out of the way, you had the meeting that took place on Jekyll Island, right outside, I believe, the state of Georgia. And on Jekyll Island, there was a treaty that was done. Thomas Jefferson, at the time, also had made a treaty. And in the treaty that he did, it was basically to block all private banks and all private enterprises from ever seizing all monetary gains. Because Thomas Jefferson also said that if the banks control the money structure, then the same continent that his forefathers conquered, his children will find themselves homeless on the beach. And this is pretty much where we are right now. We're at a crossroad right now, and we with so much propaganda, with so much fear being perpetuated and being pumped, with so many people looking for all the right answers, and so many people looking for a leader, so many people having their faith tested, so many people believing that we are in Revelations and that we are at the end of time, that a lot of these things they have been created for the mind to basically, so you can be confused, so you will not figure it out for yourself. So if I can create all of this confusion and all of this doubt, then I can continue to do what I need to do in order to bring my agenda across. Now, we're going to fast forward from the treaty that Thomas Jefferson did, and this treaty could not have been nullified because this treaty was also part of the Constitution of the United States of America. Now, if you have noticed that people no longer say the United States of America anymore, it's the United States or the U.S., but it's never the U.S. of A. This is for a reason. Everything has to do with wordplay and terminology. So now, when we had the attack of 9/11, and the attack of 9/11 was broadcasted for everyone to see, sort of like watching a movie, a Hollywood movie. But at the time, everyone felt that because the impact was so great. There was something that no one had ever expected to happen because we lived in the great U.S. of A. We were told that this is the most powerful country in the world, a superpower. No one could touch America. No one could deal with America. We were living a great life. Everyone was happy to go to work. Everyone was happy to just be part of something. So when we had the attack of 9/11, it was deemed a terrorist attack. We were shown all these different figures of a man named Osama bin Laden. We were shown different recordings, so on and so forth. No different than what we were shown when it came to Kuwait, when at the time it was we had to create an enemy, and at that time the enemy was Saddam Hussein. So once again, we were always taught that there must be a hero and there must be a villain. So this country perpetuates the very people who will scream for peace, the very people who will go to church, the very people who will go to the mosque, the very people who will pray, the very people who meditate, the very people who have faith. But just because you do not get your hands dirty does not mean that your hands are not dirty, because yet and still we do nothing. When this country moves to the beat of one drum, and this country wages war on other countries, and this country kills in the name of America, and it kills in the name of its citizens, and it kills in the name of Jesus Christ, in the name of God, in the name of Allah, whoever the case may be. We are all held accountable for the actions of this country, because this is the very country that we live in. So that means no different than being an accessory to murder. If you are in a vehicle with someone and someone in that car commits a murder and you're with that person at that time, this is the crime that you will be charged with by the police that enforce the same laws here in this nation. So why is it any differently when this country commits the same terrorist acts on other countries, and you wonder why these people ride for what they believe in? There was a senator back in the day named Charles Rose. I believe it was not Charles Rose, I'm sorry. It was Charles Ward, but I forgot the senator's name. But basically what this senator did, he funded a private war to the people from Afghanistan. And these people were given weapons, and they were given weapons to basically keep Russia, to help fight off Russia and keep Russia outside of their country, because America wanted to invest in what was growing in Afghanistan at the time. We all know, excuse me, whether it been oil or whether it been opium fields. So once these same people had done what America needed to do, then America turned on these very people and started slaughtering these people. Now, these people, children, witnessed their families being slaughtered, and this is why they grew up with a certain amount of hatred, because they realized who was the true backstabber, who was the true treasonous artist, and who really needed to be murdered. This very country that we support to this day, America. So now we label people such as the Al-Qaeda, we label them as terrorists. If you have a different point of view outside of capitalism, you're labeled a communist. If you think anything outside of the norm, or if you think outside of the matrix, then something is wrong with you. So now we'll go back to 9/11 once again. So when 9/11 and the act was committed, and we had an enemy, Osama bin Laden, at the Kuwait situation, Desert Storm. Once the gold and the gold plates were recovered and taken by the Americans, then there was no longer a need to go to war. And if you notice, every war that we've been into, we never leave the country. We always set up shop, and we stay in those countries, and we control the very essence of that area, if not controlling that country. So once again, 9/11, the whole country's in the uproar. We want blood, we want murder. And at this time, people had no problem with committing murder, you know. And one thing about war, there are no casualties of war. These are not like olden days. Olden days, there were casualties of war, because there were treaties into effect, treaties that were signed, in which you had to obey these treaties, because it's a bigger picture than a lot of us can really truly understand. Even though the beast may seem uncivilized, this beast is very civilized. Do not get it twisted. So, with that being said, when you wage war, everyone is fair game, whether it be women, children, men, elderly people, whatever the case may be, animals. Everyone is fair game in war, whether it be by chemical warfare, whether it be by missiles, bombs, artillery, machinery, guns, whatever the case may be, tanks. Everyone is fair game. So war is very ugly. War is very cruel. War is a necessary tool, but for the most part, there's no need to wage war once people have figured out that everyone can live in harmony. Not saying that this will cause an imbalance in the way that we live, but there is enough of an imbalance as it is already, because we do not come together collectively as a whole to fight for the injustice of all people. You know what I mean? I understand that for everyone that's rich, there has to be someone that's poor. You know, I understand these things, but you do not have to bully every society or every country or create third world countries wherever you go. You know what I mean? So after 9/11 and the Patriot Act was placed into effect, this act finally nullified the treaty that was done by Thomas Jefferson. And I forgot the name of the treaty. I want to say it was the Treaty of Versailles. I want to say that, but I'm not sure, because a lot of this is just coming off the top of my head. But Thomas Jefferson, the last treaty that he did, this was completely nullified, knocked out the box by the Patriot Act. And this is the reason now that a lot of things that were done unseen are now coming to light, because the only obstacle left for this private enterprise, this private regime of people who have always wanted to control the world, this has been their agenda from day one. One world. one world government, one world order. I mean, we've been in a new world order. This is nothing new, but this has been the agenda of a bunch of wealthy, eccentric people. It's been about world domination from day one. Adolf Hitler was just the icing on the cake. You know, the Germans were used just the same as niggas were used in the dope game. The Germans were used to do the dirty work for the eccentric people. See, these people do not want to get their hands dirty because they feel as though, why get my hands dirty when I can manipulate off the minds? See, that's the worst type of motherfucker. You know what I mean? The person that has the mind state and the know-how to manipulate your mind state to do their will, to do their bidding. This is a person that you do not play around with, because make no mistake about it, they will annihilate you. They will annihilate any part of anybody that gets in their way. Trust me when I tell you that. You know what I mean? So as I do these things, I don't hold any fear in my heart, because death to me is just a form of transcending. But in order to get the goal that these people are trying to achieve, once again they must get the country to move to the beat of one drum. So now we see all these different shootings taking place at the school. We witness certain aspects of with the Newtown, Connecticut shooting, with the jobless rate, the unemployment rate going up. Even the fact that NAFTA was implemented, and during the time that our so-called president right now, Barack Obama, was a congressman, he and the Clintons were the very people who brought NAFTA into effect. So when they brought NAFTA into effect, this is the very thing that came into place once the jobs start going out of the country. This was all pretty much part of the propaganda in which we live in this world today. Because if I take the jobs away, and if I tell you that the economy is doomed, the economy is bad, and I tell you that there's no money and that we have to cut Social Security, we have to cut Medicaid, we have to cut Medicare, and me as the president, I'm telling you that I'm trying to get all these different bills passed, but Congress won't allow me to do it. And if I tell you this story long enough to the point that you believe it, by the time that you don't believe this story, it will be too late. Because by then, the Patriot Act law will be reinstituted. I will be able to come to your home, take you out of your home at will. I will be able to put drones and let drones fly around throughout the communities. I will keep everyone under the watchful eye 24/7. I will require you to have an RFID chip placed inside of you once you decide that you want to obtain some type of medical care or insurance or life coverage. These are things that are already right there, ready to become into live action. You know what I mean? These things are ready. But right now, we, the people, are the final obstacle. And do not get it twisted by no means. Do not think that these people will not be ready to go to war if it means that we have to be annihilated in order for a goal to be achieved. We are expendable. You know what I mean? So don't think that they do not already have mapped out certain areas that they will take out in order to achieve a bigger goal. So the main goal in which all of these things have been done, they have all been done by waging war. And the only war that has not taken place yet in this country is the war between blacks and whites, or the war between the rich and the poor. You had the war that happened, so they say, the Civil War, you know what I mean? Because these people were fighting for a goal, and these people were fighting for businesses and jobs. So that's what popped off back then. We're looking at the same thing right now. So I don't know where this country, is going. I have an idea of where people are trying to take it to. But the reason I say I don't know where it's going, because the power belongs to the people, and the people must take back their power. You know what I mean? You have to do your research and not get caught up in the hype of good guy, bad guy. Don't get caught up in the hype of labeling someone your enemy, because you have to look at every situation from every side of the story and understand that things are not always what they seem. And the very minute that you run with something, you got to ask yourself, what is the hidden agenda that this person is proposing, in order for the simple fact that what is it that they truly want, and who is it that they really are. Ask yourself, who put the money behind Barack Obama? Ask yourself, like, is any of this stuff really worth it? Ask yourself, are you really an American? Ask yourself, are you really a slave? Ask yourself all of these different questions, and ask yourself, are you truly knowledgeable on everything that has taken place in the past? Are you truly knowledgeable on the person that you are today and the person that you wish to be in the future? Because if you ask yourself these questions, then I'm pretty sure that you will come up with solutions and answers, because I don't have it, but I'm pretty sure someone out there does. But maybe if we come together collectively, we can definitely point this country and get our lives in the right direction. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I'm truly praying for. You know what I mean? Because I don't wish no harm or no malice on anyone, but I understand that there's a bigger enemy. You know what I mean? Outside of the person that I see in the mirror, outside of me saying that the white man is my enemy, because this is not about color. This is about real live slavery. And I'm talking about enslaving you to the point where you can't even think for yourself. To the point that now, you know what I mean, you're still allowed an option by doing your own research that you can't think for yourself as a human being. But if this does take place, then the life that we definitely grew accustomed to will be no longer. And the life that people are trying to get us to, I have no idea what that life is about. But best believe, if I have to live that type of life, I would rather die. I would rather go out fighting to my death, because I refuse to live that type of life. You know what I mean? So everyone, have a blessed day, a blessed night, and thank you.